propaganda comes from the word propagate, and it was first used by the Catholic Church in 1622. At that particular time, it wasn't necessarily, or didn't necessarily have a negative connotation. By the 19th century, particularly in this country, you start to see political propaganda. You start to see what's known as muckraking, or particular journalists who talk about politicians, or politicians who talk about themselves, usually in a negative kind of way. One of the most famous individuals who dealt in propaganda was a gentleman by the name of Thomas Nast, N-A-S-T. He was considered the first political cartoonist. And after that, I would say during World War II, under the Nazi regime, that's where historically most people look at propaganda. Hitler had a minister of propaganda, and the basis for Nazi propaganda was the development of the final solution, which was the elimination of the Jews. Basically, the propaganda out of Nazi Germany blamed the Jews for anything that had gone wrong, from the loss in World War I to all of the economic troubles that followed. So that gives you some kind of historical basis, and of course, propaganda continues today.
Thank you. And just as a follow-up to situate it within the context of ISIS, Dr. Shakawa, would you say that ISIS propaganda also has a historical antecedent, for example?
ISIS propaganda for us as a large majority of Muslim population, and in particular the Sunni ones, really it parallels, if you go back 2 years back, what we've heard from a group like Al-Qaeda. And I can allude to that depending on the time. We, as the majority of everyone in this room, look up to the term ISIS in the Muslim order. If you're familiar with the term Daesh in the Arabic language, as something that's new to us. Like, what did this come about? And it propagated in the same fashion as something new. You know, when you hear of a new gadget, like an iPhone, everybody wants to really get a hand on to see what does this new gadget do, or what do they perform for me. Not everything is good, is new is good, and unfortunately, sometimes it attracts the negative kind of attention or negative kind of propaganda.
Thank you. Dr. Lamia, what are the main media used by ISIS to deliver its message or messages?
Right. Thank you so much for that question. I will start by thanking the committee for inviting me here at Delaware State University. This is my second official visit here at Delaware, and I always enjoy coming to this campus. Right at Harvard University, we always pride ourselves with all the black institutions, seeing what they're doing. So when I come to Delaware State, I actually feel at home. Back to the question, of course, social media is plural. It contains things like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, WhatsApp, Viber, and I can go on and on, Snapchat, etc. So ISIS, they are using all these tools. And for us in the School of Communication at Harvard University, graduates and undergraduate students, we are asking the question, was this tool helpful or hurtful? If ISIS is using this tool effectively to propagate in this sense, negatively, influencing people who have not known about it through social media, it means they are successful. As opposed to Al-Qaeda, that were relying on Al Jazeera, for instance. You remember they had to use the television at that time. They had to look for a studio, look for a time to record. But with social media, with Facebook, with Twitter, it's quite easy. You work with it, you have it at your pocket. The You don't need any sophisticated studio to record whatever message you want to pass across. So what is social media doing to us as a communication platform? Is it, of course, to further propaganda or to give us some pause to think about this thing called a new communication platform? How do we stop it? How do we put our hands around it? Is interhuman communication becoming so complex that we cannot hold it? That ISIS can influence 20,000 people to just move to meet them using social media. So it is indeed they are actually using social media as a powerful tool. And I think they are using it successfully.
I want to stay on this topic for a second because you talked about social media as one of the main media used by ISIS. We also recently have heard about the kind of messages they send via social media. And one of the things we hear is what they call the dark space on the internet. And a situation where you have encrypted messages sent such that it's even impossible for law enforcement to decode the messages that are going around. How concerned should global citizens be about such a situation? And Dr. Langma, you can start again, and then these things go.
ISIS is sending their messages through 7 different languages, encrypted. The good thing about social media is that it's not limited in terms of language, in terms of encryption. There are Arabic keyboards, there are English keyboards, there are French keyboards, there are Japanese keyboards, Chinese keyboards. You can weave it the way you want. For me to decode that kind of message, I need to be in the language geographical setting. I need to understand the content and the context of that. And so their target population know what they're doing. And so that is why we may have to come to a situation where we may have to teach ourselves all these kinds of coded languages in order to decode and debunk the messages that they send through social media. So we have a department of Arabic, a department of social media Arabic course, a department of Japanese social media Twitter handle, in order to understand what is being said. This is very difficult and complex. And that is the power of social media. It's like a hydra, you know, the animal hydra has its feet everywhere. It's very difficult to pinpoint. You stop them here, they come out this way. You stop this way, they come out this way. They can use audio. And even when they use the audio, they use sounds and symbols that you and I cannot easily wrap our hands around it.